schools. And of course, the story that we're coming up with is that of this young boy, promising young boy. And according to, school authority, he was a beacon of light for the school. Talking about Sylvester Oromoni, a student of Dowen College, Lagos. Now, that brought up, a lot of, all the ritual killings that we've seen in other parts of the country. Go back to 2016, where a young man, they were at the pool with 6 of his colleagues, secondary school students. And the boy, they said they were in black, went to the swimming pool of a popular, hotel in Akwa Ibom. And by the time they were leaving, they left one of them behind. And when the hotel authority would come for the young man, he was found dead with blood, oozing out of his mouth. Now, these children and what, we see with them today. And I was talking about, what could be seen happening in our private schools today. Yes, the public schools are bad, they would say. Not the best of teachers you would get there. And of course, every parent struggling to put their children at works in the best of schools. But what are we getting here? And with this young man, Sylvester Oromoni, now another twist that we're getting to the story is that the parents of this young children that were responsible for the death of Sylvester Oromoni are planning to take their words out of the country. Now, this is the influence of power. This is the influence of money and all of that playing out here. But just how many other students have been killed in all the other parts of the country, our colleges? This is the story we're bringing to you this morning, and seeing where parents had failed, what parents brought these children to the world, what was the role of the school authority in all of this, and of course, watching over these children. How well are we doing that? My guest this morning is my colleague, a mother, a parent, who wants the best, I'm sure, for her children. And of course, seeing to it that they get the best of education. And most people would say that private schools is where you go to get the best today. My colleague is Jacqueline Adebija. Jacqueline Adebija, you recall, handles this flagship program of the station, Marriage Keys. And in Marriage Keys, we talk about parenting, we talk about children, we talk about, Christian and life and all of that. Jacqueline Adebija, good morning. I'm doing this by phone. Good morning. Glad to have you on the show. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello? Hello? Yes.
Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello. Good morning. Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, Tony, and thank you for having me. Yes, hello. I can hear you.
Okay, you got my background there, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I don't know why is it that I'm not getting you. I don't have, okay, it's going to give me a headphone. Okay, so Jacqueline, if you can hear me loud and clear,
yes, I can.
Our children these days, and of course, what we do to hide them, so to say, when they're faced with situations like this, and what do you make out of it? Your concerns here first. What you made out of this young man who is passed on now, Sylvester Oromoni, a student of Dowen College, Lagos. Of course, we know that the police have come into the matter, and allegedly that he was killed by his colleagues. And so Sylvester Oromoni is gone. But again, the pains, the agony of the demise of this young one, still telling parents, loved ones, and all over the country too, we're feeling the pains of how this young boy could have been taken out by his colleagues.
Well, what I would say right off the bat is that this is a glaring failure of society. And when I say society, that's you and I. That is from our home to the larger, community out there. There's failure on every side. I mean, it is so sad that we have to be having this conversation once again. Let's start from the home. let's ask ourselves, those boys or those children who perpetrate these evil acts, did they drop from a tree? Or did they suddenly manifest into the flesh? No. And I think it is safe to say that we all agree. There's hardly anyone, apart from maybe one or two psychologists who have opined that human beings actually come into the world with some preconceived characters or characteristics. I think it's safe to say that many people agree that children are born tabula rasa, simply meaning as blank boards, clean, white. And then the moment they are born, family, religious values, environmental impact, and all of that start to write on that whiteboard of life. And depending on what writing is more, we get the kind of individual that we get. And while, it's debatable that, every human being has the propensity or the ability to carry out heinous behavior or heinous acts, I think we can also agree that the kind of upbringing that anybody has largely determines whether or not that person is able to tamp down or quell, or kill completely that part of us that is animal or animalistic, that part of us that is a beast. So if you would permit me to use that language. So if we now must come back to that question, that how are we raising our children? These children, using Sylvester's case, because you see, we must take a look at the bigger. Let's take a step or several steps back and take a look at the full picture. This isn't the first time we're having this kind of dastardly act. Just a few months ago here, we were talking about the boy in the Redeemer's school in Calabar, who was sodomized. You saw the picture of that boy before and after. He was sodomized, and up till today, recently when this Sylvester's case came up, that was when we started hearing about, that the principal of that school and some other officials had been remanded in prison. It was right here, a few years, I don't think it's even up to 2 or 3 years ago, that we have the case of the child. I think it's more than that. I think it's about 4 to 5 years. That we have the case of that child in Hassan Zanzo, who confessed to his mother that, look, there is a ritual, a rite of passage for boys in that school in Kano, where people from outside, elite no less, because poor people don't even have the money nor the time to do this thing. Elite will come into the school and sodomize those boys. And you see, when I say failure of society, number one, I have taken it from the family. How do we bring up our children? Many of us just have those kids and just leave them to the world to raise them as the world sees fit. That is a failure. Now then, when you come to society, let's take it from the schools, or let's take it from government, because time and again we keep seeing the same action. You shut down the school, and when sentiments have reduced, when emotions have run low, the school reopens and business continues. That was how they shut down Hassan Gwarzo. That was how Redeemer School was shut down. And now we see that Dowen College too has been shut down. But after the shutdown, then what? Then what? Is Hassan Gwarzo not open today? Is the Redeemer School not open today? That is a failure of government.
Yes, Jackie, you just brought up something, and I just like to, take a cue from that. Because in the wider society, today we're talking about failure of leadership and government, or governance, or whatever. We also have looked into, failure in the homes, and then we've moved to the schools. So when we get failures like this, from the strata of the society, what kind of, what are we breeding? What kind of leadership are we bringing out of, these failures that we have in these different stages of the child's life?
Exactly. Good question. I mean, for the answer, all we need to do is take a look at society. Because just like I was saying, a failure, total failure of every sector in our society. And you see the sad and also, it's dark humor, I would say, but it's also humorous, that the places where the elite think they can take their children to, after they have allowed for failure in the very society that is there, a society that had so many laudable and upright values that they let slide. Those are the societies where a child would wake up one morning and tell his parents that he's dissatisfied with his friends in school or his classmates, and the parents would go buy him a handgun as present for his birthday and let him take out the lives of innocent children in a heartbeat. That's the society they say they are running to. Because you see, if we all take a look at our society and sincerely put hands together, what we need to do is not rocket science. But because the people at the helm of affairs are largely unconcerned because their children do not school in these schools, they're outside there in America, in Sweden, in Germany, in London, all those places. Well, let us just say that the joke is actually going to end up on them. And it's the shooting that took place in Michigan the other day. You can see that the parents of this boy are, one thing you would give these societies anyway is that they try to the best they can. So for the first time, we are seeing the parents of a child who has committed such a thing being prosecuted because they bought him that gun. But does it take away the fact that this boy has taken the lives of young children who had so much promise? No. But we don't even have that here in our society. Believe you me, Toyin, there are so many values that we still can salvage. Our society is still the best of all continents, whether you take it or you leave it. If you take a holistic look at every continent and the indigenous or peculiar problems or challenges that each and every continent has, Africa is still the best. Our problems are economic. They are socio-economic. And if we had those who are able to do something about it, we would have a better society. We would have white people coming to Africa to school. We would have white people sending their children to us. For us to reteach the values that we gave the world. Civilization started from us. But today, where are we? How can we know that we have dark spots in our various states? Dark spots that are no longer secret, where teenagers go to sell themselves for pittance. How can we know these places where young children go and get drugs? where young children go and they are introduced into activities that you and I would not have dreamt of at their age. And yet, we cannot have those places shut down. We cannot have those places mowed down because some people are going to turn it into a political conversation instead of us to talk about what it is that it is doing to us as a society. Then that is when you start hearing some people say, oh, it is because that place is owned by this person or this place is owned by that person. Or why do we mow down some? Why would government mow down some of those places and not mow all the rest down? It's failure. And it is because we cannot see the bigger picture. Not government, not we, the people. Because if we could see the bigger picture and take a look at the average teenager and ask yourself, if at their age you have the capacity to think, I mean, we're talking about secret calls in a secondary school, not university. There was a time when this conversation was about university students. Now we're having cult activities at secondary school level, no less. At a private secondary school like Dowen College, we're talking about an elite school. Let's not kid ourselves and say, oh, now because it's a rich man's school. If it is happening in a private school like that, believe you me, it's happening in a federal government college. It is happening in a command secondary school or an Air Force secondary school. It's happening. It's like we love to say, now the person when they catch, now then they call thief. Simply because we haven't heard. I mean, look at Premier College, somewhere there in Lube. Was it not just about 2 years ago that a child died in the hospital and they recover a used condom inside that girl? Apparently raped to within an inch of her life, and by the time they got her to the hospital, she gave up the ghost. Where is that case today? Is Premier College not open? Is it not open for business? It is. The parents of that girl have been in a battle of wits with the Nigeria police. Why can we not have good people who will rise up and say that not under my watch? What is our Minister of Education doing? It is not a situation for Lagos alone. And that's another failure, where we seem to think that, oh, because this thing happened in Lagos, or because it happened in Maiduguri, it has nothing to do with a national conversation.
So I'm just wondering now at this point, Jackie, where is safe for the child? I mean, if the upbringing is faulty and the child moves to school, from school, primary school to college, and of course you've talked about universities, what we find in our universities today. So I'm just wondering, where is safe? And again, you talked about the authorities, the police too, have been, some people say the police to compromise in this situation because again, influential parents will take their kids out and that will be the end. Some of the colleges you've talked are now opened in this hotel in Akwa Ibom State where this young man, was killed at the poolside. The hotel is open and doing business too. So one is just wondering, again, in all of this, with what we're facing, where is just safe here? Where is safe?
Nowhere. I mean, nowhere is safe. That's why I'm telling you. And I stand to be corrected, even though, honestly, I stand with so much conviction that Africa is still the best place to be. The best continent that we have of all continents on this small blue planet. Africa is still the best place to be. And that is why Africa is being courted like a bride. And because, of course, when you don't know what you have, those who know the value of what you have will come for you. We don't know the value of what we have. This continent is still the best. But we have decided that we have believed the lie that we're living in a dark continent, an underdeveloped continent, and we are behaving like underdeveloped animals. And so, yes, they will come for us. Toyin Alabi, what is there not to like about Nigeria or Africa? I mean, with all the proliferation of arms, we still, at least up to this moment that I'm talking, we still do not have that situation where children will get up and take guns and finish each other's lives in a secondary school. But we're gradually approaching that place if we do not take time. And like I said, the last joke is on the elite who makes the mistake of thinking. Because, I mean, if the story is to be believed, the children, some of the children who performed or who carried out this act on Sylvester have been flown out of the country. And I hear that one of them is the child of a very, very popular, I don't know whether to call him a politician or a hoodlum, who is now late. But it just goes to show that they seem to think that, okay, we can fly them out to where the arms of the law of Nigeria cannot reach. And then they will go and school there and come back to another failure of society where Nigerians are to amnesia or forgetfulness, what the elephant is to memory. We have selective amnesia. Nigerians particularly are not the kind of people who will say, no, you cannot come and stand and ask us to vote for you. You who your father killed Lagbaja, or you who your father stole so and so, and now you are coming back. No, you can't stand. You don't have the moral ground to stand. Nigerians are not like that. There are societies that are like that, where they remind you of your antecedents. In Nigeria, you can buy our memory. You can buy the average Nigerian's memory. And that is why these people, these elites, still think that you can take I can take my child out, school him, give him the best of education, and bring him back to lord it over other Nigerians or other Africans. Because they also know that their children, as long as that child is not a very bright child, a child that is within, the 90 to 100 percentile, that range, that child can never be anything in those Western nations. They will not give them that platform. So the best those children can do is continue to live there and lavish wealth, African wealth, in those societies. So the joke is actually on the elite, because most of the time those children are never, when you see they say Nigerians are brilliant, Nigerians are this, those children are usually children of middle class to low income families where they studied hard, learned the value of education, and decided to pursue with all their heart.
Okay.
And so you find those kind of children excelling in those nations. The children of those who are so rich, the elite, so to speak, hardly ever break even outside the country. And
Okay.
you know this. That is why they will go and school outside and come back to Nigeria to lord it over those who have selective amnesia.
Okay, Jackie.
Selective amnesia.
Yeah, all right. We'll call for a break here, Jackie. We have to go to the shop now, do some sales and buying, and then come back to you. But you're a parent. You're listening to us this morning, and of course, certainly, about it that this is not what you'd want or wish for your children. What has happened to Sylvester Oromoni, a student of elite college in Lagos, and in other parts of the country where this has happened, why is this coming up? Where's the root of this failure? We'll talk about it when we open our space to have your say on this matter. Jacqueline Adebija, my guest this morning, the anchor person and producer-presenter of Marriage Keys. Because this is one area that touches her, and she's just sharing her thoughts with us this morning. Go for a commercial break. Be back with you shortly. Welcome back. It's the program Perspectives this morning, and attention and our focus is on the late Sylvester Oromoni, a student of an elite school college in Lagos. Skilled. And of course, let's not just use strong words like that first, but the police are investigating on the matter. But this is what we find happening in our schools now, rituals and killings, and of course, our young words, we as cult members or cultists, as you'd say that now. This is happening in our private schools now, in the college. Of course, for the university, that has been long talked about. But again, coming to the college, now that's frightening. And so, happening in our colleges, and these are to be leaders of tomorrow. Jacqueline Adebija. Hello, Jackie.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, let me bring this to you as part of this conversation. Nigeria is said, we're said to be very religious people. And of course, statistics showing that there's so many churches, there's so many pastors and, clerics that we have in the country. One would want to say that, yes, so we must train our children as the Bible has commanded, in a good Christian way and Muslim way too, so that when these children grow up, they have the fear of God and they know what is right and what is wrong as a religious people. And this is happening. But again, another thing that I want to add to that is that yes, boarding schools and the day schools. Now, these indicators for us that we must at this time be really worried about having our children or our words in boarding schools.
You see, this is why I said earlier before we went on this break that at this point, I don't know how we haven't started or how we haven't even already had a national conversation of our tertiary institutions. I don't know how our Minister of Education has not called all the commissioners of education of all the 36 states that we have, with the capital territory included, to a high-powered and intense meeting where experts are called in to talk about the revamping of our schools, whether it is at state or federal level or even private, because the same laws govern us all. Why haven't we had that? Like I asked earlier, it seems as if we had a manual, a failed manual that we always go to, what's the word I'm looking for now, to consult. Why do we do this to ourselves? Okay, so you shut down the school. That's one of the things that is in that failed manual that we have in Nigeria. You close down the school and then what? What's next? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's not just about the children who perpetrated that act. Why do we have secondary schools that have boarding facilities and you don't have house matrons? I took my child for just 2 terms to a command secondary school. I say 2 terms because it was with speed that we removed that child. Because I could see that if we didn't take our child out of that school, we were to breed a child that would be very hostile to the world and would probably have started stealing. Because there are people who take their children to school. I saw it in command secondary school, where the children would send their children to school without provision. You know why? Because they know that those children are now in senior secondary school. They are going to bully children who come with provisions. My son approaching his hostel, the seniors would already be waiting. They would open his box. Whatever was in that box, the provision box, would be half. They would take a look at his clothing, his slippers, his blanket, you name it. And they would pick for themselves what they want and then leave the carcass for that child. Parents would send their children to school knowing that their children would survive on another child by preying on another child. So the question is, why do we not have hostel matrons and hostel patrons? When I was growing up, I went to a boarding school. But right there, 24 hours of the day, That woman had no other job. She wasn't a teacher. She wasn't a cleaner. She wasn't any other thing other than a hostel matron. She was always there. And so there were things that just couldn't happen under her watch. But it was in this command secondary school that I learned that there are boarding schools where we don't have adults sleeping with children at all. As in, they don't have their accommodation within the hostel. So you just poor teenagers who we know have so much energy. And if we do not channel those energies to the right place, they will be channeled to the wrong place. So we just carry children of varying degrees of teenagehood. And then we even have those who are 20, 25 in some of those schools. Yes, we have them. We had them in that school in command at that time. And then you pour all of them into the same hostel and expect that something good will come of that. We're not even talking about hostels where you have just two to a room, or where one person can be to a room. We're talking about dormitories. In fact, that's the word, not hostels. Dormitories, long halls, where all sorts of people are there. Come and hear stories that my son was able to tell us at that time. Children escaping out of the whole school, as like just going out into town. Children going into the ceiling to smoke igbo. There's no adults to supervise. Such a school should be sanctioned. It should be a part of the criteria for any school that is supposed to have a boarding school to have school matrons and school patrons. People of integrity whose CV is put through a fine code that will stay with those children, that will guide them. But because we always like shortcuts, we don't want to pay. Because those people are not even supposed to be teachers. They are 24 hours. I think our own matron also had some medical training. I think there's the guidance and counseling course that I don't know what they read, to be frank. I don't want to postulate here. I don't know what they read, but I know that they do have first aid knowledge. They also talk to you. They have that guidance and counseling spirit where they are able to talk to you. And they are also like psychologists. They are able to read body language. That woman, you couldn't put anything past her. She would come out in the middle of the night. At 12 a.m., she could decide to do hostel rounds. So where are you escaping to? Some days she would wake up at 3. And I even went to, I would like to think an elite school, a secondary school, but she would open, because we had rooms. She would open that room and come in. She would knock because you could lock the room. She would just knock and you had to open within a short space of time. We had guards. So you see where I say that what we are courting, when it comes, we will all cry. Like Asha said, there's fire on the mountain and no one seems to be on the run. But when the fire will come, all of us, honestly, whether you're an elite, you consider yourself with money, or you're a poor person, we will all run.
Okay, Jackie.
When Toyin Alabi, just to round this up, when the problem in Rwanda started, everybody thought, to think that it is even a problem that you could change from Hutu to Tutsi just by wealth, by buying cattle. You could change your nomenclature. And the people in Rwanda at that time decided to turn a blind eye. When the genocide started, did everybody not run? Everybody did. We are raising monsters, many monsters, in a lot of schools, whether boarding or without boarding facilities. We are raising monsters.
Yeah,
and everybody is turning a blind eye.
Okay, Jackie, just before we went on that break, you talked about, and I want to use that, to come up with this question about, you said the elites will buy our memories. Of course, their words will do wrong in Nigeria. They're taken out, go to the best schools there, and of course, what they have in them will still be there. But they come back again, and they get positions, so to say. They become our politicians, and they're also back to rule us. And so, when you have people like that, like this young one starting from college now, and this, I'm sure, would go up to university level, and they get to university and become worse. They turn out to be, they beat up teachers now, they get the best of grades, and all of that happens in the universities. And they come back to be our leaders. Now, they come back to be our leaders, and so, what society are we getting when we have this kind of leadership failures? When, of course, we hire leaders by certificates now from Toronto, from all over the world. They buy certificates to get to positions. So, the potential that we can get for a developed society that we want, when from the background or from that young age we did not get it right, what can we get right? At the top there.
I don't know. It's a question that, your answer is as good as mine. I don't know. But this is what happens. Nigerians, particularly in Africa, Nigerians have a very selective memory. We claim amnesia when, these people come back and the price is right. And that, have we not asked why they don't take their children outside the country to school and allow those children to stay there? Like, why don't those children vie for political positions in those countries? It is because those people will not entertain mediocrity. Look, dark skin itself is an insult to the average white man. So the only time that they're going to, the only time that they're going to entertain blackness is when you come with brilliance, the kind of brilliance that they cannot but accept. They have no choice but to accept.
Okay, Jackie.
These people, yes. Go ahead, you were asking.
Yeah, Jackie. So let me. The phones are just blinking now. Parents are listening to us this morning, and again, concerned citizens. I just tuned in, to this program, and what has happened to Sylvester Oromoni, a young guy that was the school itself talked about this boy as a beacon of light for the school. That young man has been taken out by young boys and girls too. And so let's get to hear parents, would want to come into this matter, and of course concerned citizens too, about what has happened in this elite school in Lagos State. And of course it's happening in other parts of the country too. Go to Kano, Maiduguri, Delta, Akwa Ibom. It's all over the place. It's all over there with us. Where have we failed here? Bringing up our words and talking about Nigeria as a religious country. Numbers to call to be part of this conversation: 081 40 989, 081 40 989, or 070 87 800 989, 070 87 800 989. Your calls now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You are speaking with them. I'm calling from Gonsunusi.
The name again, please. The name?
Jamil.
Okay, Jamil, quick.
Mr. Tony, honestly speaking, this thing that this topic that you people brought up today, that is what is going on presently now in our society. And for me, I would advise, before admitting a child in a secondary school, they should be doing what they call psychology test, so that they should know if this child have mental problem or is having what they call family issues, so that they will be able to handle that child before the child comes into the school system. And at the same time, when it gets to just 3, they should, before writing that junior WAEC, they should do what they call drug test, because it will shock you children now are on hard drugs these days. Once a child is have that test and have that drug test and he failed, honestly speaking, he should not proceed. They will take him back, then he should start afresh.
Okay.
That will be a punishment for him. Going further again, even for SS3, before getting to the high institution. Because as Jacqueline just said now, we are breeding monsters in our society presently now.
Okay.
That is just the plain truth.
All right, Jamil, thank you for your contribution. Still with your calls. Hello, good morning. Okay, breathing monsters. Hello, good morning.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yeah, you're speaking to Sambo YG.
Please come with the name again.
Sambo YG.
Sambo, okay, Sambo, all right.
Yes. Incidentally, I am also a trained counselor in psychology.
All right, good.
Hello, sir.
Yes, good for us, Let's hear you.
Honestly, value system is what we are battling with today in our schools. Value system. And this value system, you discover that most homes, they have lost the value system, where the quest for money has taken time out of parents. They have no time to look after their children. And then what do we have? Most of them don't throw their children back to school. And I want to be very, very specific. Hello?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes. They throw their children to the teacher. They throw their children as if they hand over their children to the teachers. A child at a growing stage, especially at the teenage stage, the early and the middle and the late adolescence, it should be at the watchful eye of the parents, where at least 90% parents should be able to give assessment of their work, character, and behavior, not to leave him to the hand of the teachers. The teachers are supposed to be responsible for molding academic and adding value to where the parents have already added. But we already have challenge in a lot of our parents. I'm not also exonerating schools, because some schools do not have a lot of psychological units where at least they expose the children, expose the students to be tested. Like the last caller said, it is quite necessary to administer psychological tests on new students and even the old students periodically. But how much do our school have to entertain counseling units and counselors and psychologists to be able to give contributions that will build the school and build the society in terms of the children?
All right.
So I feel your channel, your program is doing quite good, quite well, but we need to involve the counseling association within the state chapter to help to sensitize the schools, the parents during PTA meetings in order to address some of these challenges.
All right. Sambu,
thank you for giving me your time.
Sambu, thank you on that. Thank you that we got a counselor to talk to us here this morning too. So just one more call and then I'll get back to Jackie and so with your calls. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Toyin.
Yes, good morning.
Toyin, well, may the soul of Sylvester rest in peace.
Amen.
This is...
Who am I talking with?
My name is Ben.
Ben, right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Ben, let's say, okay.
This topic, Jackie has done justice to it. And a lot of us, our hearts are healed. Please, let the police not sweep this case under the carpet. These children must pay. You see, this is something that is very common in our schools today. We shouldn't pretend about it. Even in Kaduna. Now, whether the parents of these boys plan to take them to anywhere, please, let these boys answer. Because even the staff in the school, the matrons, the school authority, they are aware of all these things and they cover them. Please let these boys come and answer for this heinous crime they committed. Thank you.
Okay, Ben, thank you. All right, Jacqueline Adebija, come back to you. And we had Jamilu, first caller, worried about, talked about certificates, for children getting into our schools. Drug tests must be conducted. Sambo, a counselor here, talked about losing a value system is what we're battling with, and also in support of having drug tests and counseling too in our schools. And Ben worried too that yes, the police or the authority must investigate this matter to the letter. all of that? Your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, they've all spoken well. They just echoed what I also am advocating for.
Yes.
You know, we should have the Minister of Education should have said something by now. As far as I'm concerned, by now, we should have had some activity going on at federal level that would be taking a look at all these situations and trying to find a way forward. It is not the first time we've had this. It's not the second time. As a matter of fact, just this morning, I saw another reminder of a child whose parents went to look for him in school. It's somewhere in I think, or in Kwara State, and they couldn't find him. Not until these boys' remains were found in a cupboard the next term. Apparently, the day school, when they went on holidays, the day they were supposed to go on holidays, some seniors locked him up in a cupboard and forgot about it, and they also went home. So this boy was shot there, and he died there. So we have a situation where these atrocities are happening all over the country. In boarding schools, in schools without boarding facilities. It's happening all over. And that's why we're seeing a situation where students, I don't know whether you saw the video of students slapping a teacher somewhere in Owerri. I don't know whether you've heard of situations, I mean, like it's becoming more rampant, where parents are going to school with thugs to go and beat up teachers. We need to come to the table and have conversations. It's not just about governance or politics that we should be clamoring for sovereign national conference or referendum or whatever. Someone once said, if you want to destroy a nation without throwing one bomb, destroy its educational sector. And this is what is happening to us. We are afraid to take children to school. Teachers are afraid to teach the right way. Everybody is afraid. And that's not good for us.
Jacqueline
Adebija, don't want to put the right people in the right places. It's a whole mess. But it starts with taking just one step in the right direction. Shutting down the school, all well and good, but that isn't where it should stop. People should be held to account. The school should be held to account. Officials in certain positions should be held to account. Do we have the right people? Did the school follow criteria? Do we have a national framework for schools that want to set up boarding facilities? You must have this in place. You must do this. You must do this. You must do this. In fact, there are schools showing that don't have an exit plan in case of fire or any other thing, or even attack. These are things that we should have as a framework, and it's national. You have schools that don't have playgrounds. What's the Minister of Education doing at this time?
Jacqueline Adebija, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And that will just be about the size of the program, perspectives. And this morning, we're looking at our schools. And of course, Sylvester Oromoni, the young student, a beacon of light, as the school authority described him, late now, in the parents in pains and agony over the loss of their child. This happened in an elite school in Lagos State. School's been closed down now with investigation going on. But again, like every other part of, where this has happened, what came out of it? Wanting the best for our schools and wanting the best for our children, and how to get out of this terrible situation that we found ourselves. Jacqueline Adebija, my guest this morning, the presenter of the flagship program, Marriage Keys. This is one area that she came up on top, and glad that we had her on the program this morning. And for all our contributors, thank you too, and our listeners too, thank you for listening in. We'll come back with perspectives tomorrow. Joy Lakewood, thank you for connecting with people this morning, and wisdom Thank you for putting us in the pictures. Perspectives will return tomorrow. Have a good day.
In the morning, wake up. This is Invicta FM.